100 top networking interview questions. Q1. What is a network? ANS. A network consists of two or more separate devices linked together such that they can communicate. Networks can be classified according to different criteria such as scope, type of connection, functional relationship, topology, or function, among others. Q2. What are the different types of networks? ANS. Considering the size or span of a network, we can classify them as follows. PAN. Personal Area Network. PAN is made up of devices used by a single person. It has a range of a few meters. WPAN. Wireless Personal Area Network. It is a PAN network that uses wireless technologies as a medium. LAN. Local Area Network. LAN is a network whose range is limited to a relatively small area, such as a room, a building, an aeroplane, etc. WLAN. Wireless Local Area Network. WLAN is a LAN network that uses wireless means of communication. It is a widely used configuration due to its scalability and because it does not require the installation of cables. CAN. Campus Area Network. A network of high-speed devices that connects LANs in a limited geographical area, such as a university campus, a military base, etc. MAN. Metropolitan Area Network. MAN is a high-speed, broadband network providing coverage in a larger geographic area than a campus, but still limited. WAN. Wide Area Network. WAN extends over a large geographical area using unusual means of communication, such as satellites, interoceanic cables, fiber optics, etc. Use Public Media. VLAN. It is a type of logical or virtual LAN, mounted on a physical network, in order to increase security and performance. In special cases, thanks to the 802.11q protocol, also called KINC, it is possible to mount virtual networks on WAN networks. It is important not to confuse this implementation with VPN technology. Q3. What is network cabling? ANS. Network cables can connect two computers or computer systems directly. A cable is a cord that is made up of different conductors, which are insulated from each other. This cord is usually protected by a wrap for better strength and flexibility. To choose a network cable, several aspects must be taken into account, such as the distance that must be covered with that cable, the maximum data transmission speed, the coating of the cable, the type of network to be created, the type of braiding, shielding, and/or sheath. Q4. What are the different types of network cables used in networking? ANS. The different types of cables used in networks are unshielded twisted pair (UTP) cable, shielded twisted pair (STP) cable, cable installation guides, coaxial cable, fiber optic cable, wireless LANs. Q5. What is a subnet? ANS. A subnet is a generic term for a section of an extensive network, usually separated by a bridge or a router. It also works for the network's broadcast domains, manages traffic flow, and helps increasing network performance. Uses of the subnet in networking include relieving network congestion, reallocating IP addresses, improving network security. Q6. What is DNS? ANS. The domain name system, DNS, is a central part of the Internet, providing a way to match names, a website you're seeking, to numbers, the address for the website. Anything connected to the Internet, laptops, tablets, mobile phones, and websites, has an Internet Protocol (IP) address made up of numbers. Q7. Differentiate between forward lookup and reverse lookup in DNS. ANDs. Following are the major differences between a forward lookup and reverse lookup in DNS. Forward DNS lookup converts a human input or a domain name to an IP address. Has a mapping between host names and IP addresses. Used for a website or other server access. Utilizes different servers with different IP addresses. Uses a records basic to identify any IP address for a particular hostname. Reverse DNS lookup converts an IP address into a domain name. Has a mapping that relates IP addresses to host names. Used for network troubleshooting. Resolves reverse lookup queries where a client requests a hostname by providing an IP address. Uses DNS pointer record to identify a hostname for a given IP address. Q8. What is network topology? ANDs. This is among the important networking interview questions. Network topology is the physical or logical arrangement in which the devices are nodes of a network, e.g., computers, printers, servers, hubs, switches, routers, etc., are interconnected over a communication medium. It consists of two parts: the physical topology, which is the actual arrangement of the cables, the media, and the logical topology, which defines how the hosts access the media. Types of network topologies. Bus. In the bus network topology, each workstation is connected to a main cable called a bus. Therefore, each workstation is directly connected to every other workstation on the network. Star. In the star network topology, there is a central computer or server to which all workstations are directly connected. Each workstation is indirectly connected to the other through the central computer. Ring. The workstations are connected in a closed-loop configuration in the ring network topology. Adjacent workstation pairs are directly connected. Other pairs of workstations are indirectly connected, passing data through one or more intermediate nodes. Mesh. Mesh network topology has two forms: full and partial mesh. In the full mesh topology, each workstation is directly connected. In the partial mesh topology, some workstations are connected to all the others, and some are connected only to the other nodes with which they exchange more data. Tree. The tree network topology uses two or more star networks connected to each other. The central computers in star networks are connected to the main bus. Thus, a tree network is a bus network of star networks. Q9. What are client and server in a network? ANDs. Clients and servers are separate logical entities that work together over a network to accomplish a task. A client application is the element of communication that requests a network service, for example, accessing a web page, or downloading a file, or sending an email. A server application is the element of communication that responds to customer requests, providing the required service, that is, sending the web page or the requested file or email. The client-server model is used by computer applications such as email, the World Wide Web, and network printing. Q10. What is a frame relay, and which layer does it operate? ANDs. Frame relay is a data link layer digital packet switched network protocol technology designed to connect local area networks, LANs, and transfer data over wide area networks, WANs. Frame relay shares some of the same underlying technology as BY.25. It is based on the older BY.25 packet switching technology designed to transmit analog data as voice conversations. Unlike X25, designed for analog signals, Frame relay is a fast packet technology, meaning the protocol does not attempt to correct errors. It is often used to connect LANs with main backbones, as well as in public wide area networks and in private network environments with leased T1 lines. It requires a dedicated connection during the transmission period and is not ideal for voice or video, which require a constant stream of transmissions. Q11. What are the different features of frame relay? ANS. The different features of frame relay are: frame relay is a connectionless service, which means that every data packet that passes over the network contains address information. Frame relay is a service that is provided with a variety of speeds from 56 kbs to 25 mbs. Although the speeds most used for the service are currently 56 kbs and 1544 mbs. The frames are of variable length and go up to 4096 bytes. Frame relay is considered a broadband ISDN service. It operates at high speed, 1544 megabits per second to 44376 megabits per second. It operates only on the physical and data link layers. Therefore, it can be easily used on the Internet. It has a large frame size of 9000 bytes. Therefore, it can accommodate all local area network frame sizes. Frame relay can only detect errors at the data link layer. But there is no flow control or error control. It operates in the data link layer. Q12. How does a frame relay work? ANS. Frame relay supports the multiplexing of traffic from multiple connections over a shared physical link. It uses hardware components that include router frames, bridges, and switches to pack data into individual frame relay messages. Each connection uses a 10-bit data link connection identifier (DLCI) for unique channel addressing. There are two types of connections. Permanent virtual circuits, PVCs, for persistent connections are intended to be maintained for long periods even if data is not actively transferred. Switched virtual circuits, SVCs, for temporary connections that last only one session. Frame relay then places the data in a variable size unit called a frame. It leaves any necessary error correction, data retransmission, until the endpoints, speeding up the overall data transmission. Q13. What is a MAC address? ANS. A MAC, Media Access Control, address is the unique 48-bit hardware address of a LAN card, usually stored in the ROM of the network adapter card. The MAC address is a unique identifier that manufacturers assign to a network card or device. It is also known as a physical address represented by hexadecimal digits. Each MAC address is unique worldwide and, in theory, they are fixed for each device. Each MAC address includes 6 pairs of numbers. The first 3 pairs help to identify the manufacturer, and the next 3 to the specific model. It is important to remember that a computer may have a variety of hardware to connect to networks. Thus, it is common to have a MAC address for Ethernet, one for Wi-Fi, and another for Bluetooth. Q14. What is beaconing? ANS. Beaconing is the process that allows a network to self-repair network problems. This is among the important networking interview questions. You must also prepare for the related terminologies. Q15. Differentiate between attenuation, distortion, and noise. ANS. When a signal travels through a medium, it loses some of its energy due to the medium's resistance. This loss of energy is called attenuation. When a signal travels through a medium from one point to another, it may change the form or shape of the signal. This is known as distortion. Noise is unwanted electrical or electromagnetic energy that degrades the quality of signals and data. Q16. What is an IP address? ANS. An Internet Protocol address, IP address, is a numerical unique address of a device in a network. IP is a datagram-oriented connectionless protocol, therefore, each packet must contain a header with the source IP address, the destination IP address, and other data to be delivered successfully. There are two types of IPs. Private IP address. A private IP address is a set of numbers assigned to each computer or system connected to a private network. An example of a private IP address is your mobile phone or your home router, which has a default local address. Public IP address. Public IP addresses are global addresses visible to anyone browsing the Internet. A user needs an Internet connection to connect to such devices. Q17. How to find the IP address of a website. ANS. Finding the IP address of a website or a domain is not a tricky task and involves the below steps. Press the Start button on your computer. Type in the Program and File Browser (CDM). Hit Enter. The MS-DOS console will open, where you must type nslookup.google.com. Instead of google.com, you must write the domain name of the page you want to consult. Next, you will be able to see the IP address. Q18. What is bandwidth? ANS. The limited range of frequencies of signals that a line can carry is called the bandwidth. Bandwidth is often confused with Internet speed when it is the volume of information that can be sent over a connection in a measured amount of time, calculated in megabits per second, MBPs. Logically, the bandwidth of our network will be decisive for its quality and speed. The more bandwidth we have, the better, since we can transfer data faster. Q19. What are firewalls? ANS. A firewall is a network security system, responsible for managing network traffic. It uses a set of security rules to prevent remote access and content filtering. Firewalls protect the systems or networks from viruses, worms, malware, etc. Firewalls are usually of two types. Physical. A physical firewall or hardware firewall is a physical device that sits between the external network and the server. They analyze incoming traffic and filter out any threats to the device. Widely used in institutions and large companies. Logical. A logical or software firewall can exist anywhere on the subnet and protects hosts anywhere without rewiring. They only protect the computer on which they are installed, and in many cases, they are integrated into the operating system. Q20. How does a firewall work? ANS. This is among the popularly asked networking interview questions. The firewall listens for what information packets are trying to leave or enter the computer system. Blocking can be done based on various criteria, such as the IP to which they are destined, the type of port used to send them, or the application of origin. One of the most complex aspects of using firewalls lies in their configuration, in deciding what types of connections are blocked and which ones are not. Q21. What are the major types of networks? ANS. There are two major types of networks: server-based network and peer-to-peer network. Q22. What are the important topologies for networks? ANS. There are three essential topologies: star, bus, and ring. Q23. Differentiate between static IP addressing and dynamic IP addressing. ANS. In a static IP address, a computer, or another device, is always configured to use the same IP address. In a dynamic IP address, The IP address can change periodically and is managed by a centralized network service. Q24. What are the different ways to exchange data? ANS. Following are the different ways to exchange data: simplex, half duplex, full duplex. Q25. What are routers? ANS. Routers connect two or more network segments. These intelligent network devices store information in their routing tables such as paths, hops, and bottlenecks. They determine the most accurate data transfer paths and operate in Open Systems Interconnection (OSI) network layer. The roles of a router include inter-network communication, best path selection, packet forwarding, packet filtering. Q26. What are the criteria for the best path selection of a router? ANS. The following parameters define the path selection: longest prefix match, minimum AD, administrative distance, lowest metric value. Q27. Explain what is a source route. ANS. The source route is defined as a sequence of IP addresses used to identify a datagram's route. You can also involve the source route in the IP datagram header. Q28. What is the difference between standard and extended ACL access control list? ANS. Standard ACLs are source-based, whereas extended ACLs are source and destination-based. Q29. What is data encapsulation? ANS. Data encapsulation is breaking down information into smaller, manageable chunks before their transmission across the network. Q30. What is RAS? ANS. RAS, Remote Access Services, refers to any combination of hardware and software to enable remote access to tools or information that typically reside on a network of IT devices. Q31. Mention the different network protocols that are supported by Windows RRAS services. ANS. Following are the three main network protocols supported by Windows RRAS services: NetBEUI, TCP, IP, IPX. Q32. What are the prerequisites to configure a server? ANS. The prerequisites to configure a server are: LAN card should be connected. Root, partition on which window is installed, should be in NTFS format. A server should be configured with a static IP address. Q33. How can you secure a computer network? ANS. You can achieve a secure computer network in the following ways. Install a reliable and updated antivirus program across the network. Ensure firewalls are set up and configured properly. Monitor firewall performance. Ensure user authentication. Update passwords regularly every quarter. Create a virtual private network (VPN). Q34. Mention the uses of the Hamming code. ANS. Following are some of the common applications of using Hamming code: modems, satellites, plasmacam, shielding wire, embedded processor, computer memory, open connectors. Q35. What are proxy servers, and how do they protect computer networks? ANS. Proxy servers prevent external users from identifying the IP addresses of an internal network. They make a network virtually invisible to external users, who cannot identify the physical location of a network without knowledge of the correct IP address. Q36. What are nodes and links? ANS. Nodes, devices or data points on a more extensive network, are known as nodes. They are individual parts of a larger data structure and contain data. They also link other nodes. Links. A link is the physical and logical network component for interconnecting hosts or nodes in a network. It is a physical communication medium such as a coaxial cable or optical fiber. Q37. What is SLIP? ANS. SLIP or Serial Line Interface Protocol was developed during the early Unix days and is used for remote access. SLIP does not provide error detection as it relies on higher layer protocols. Therefore, SLIP alone is not successful on an error-prone dial-up connection. However, it is still useful to test the operating system's response capabilities under load, looking at ping flood statistics. Interviewers often ask such networking interview questions, and you must prepare for such abbreviations. Q38. What is TCP, IP? ANS. TCP, IP is the short form of the Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. It is a set of protocol layers designed to facilitate data exchange on heterogeneous networks. Q39. How many layers does TCP, IP model have? ANS. TCP, IP model has 4 layers. Network interface. Network interface is also called a network access layer. It defines how data should be sent physically using the network. Internet. It enables hosts to insert packets into the network and deliver them to the destination on the same or another remote network. Transport. This layer permits devices on the source and destination hosts to converse. It ensures reliability, flow control, and data corrections sent over the network. Application. It is the topmost layer of the TCP/IP model. It defines TCP/IP application protocols and how host programs interface with transport layer services to use the network. Q40. Explain the different layers in the OSI model. ANS. It is one of the most commonly asked networking interview questions. The OSI, Open Systems Interconnection, model consists of 7 layers. Physical. It is the lowest layer of the OSI model. It transmits raw unstructured data bits over a communication channel. The physical layer is responsible for the actual physical connection between the devices. While receiving data, the physical layer gets the signal received, converts it into zeros and 1s, and sends them to the data link layer. Data link. The directly connected nodes perform node-to-node data transfer at this layer, where data is packaged into frames. This layer also corrects errors that occur at the physical layer. The data link layer is divided into 2 sub-layers. Logical Link Control, LLC, Media Access Control, MAC. Network. The network layer transmits data from one host to another in different networks. It receives frames from the data link layer and delivers them to their intended destinations based on the addresses inside the frame. It also takes care of packet routing. Transport. The transport layer manages the delivery and error checking of data packets. It ensures the end-to-end delivery of the complete message. Session. This layer creates communication channels, called sessions, between devices. It opens sessions, ensures they remain open while data is being transferred, and closes them when communication ends. It is also responsible for authentication and reconnections. Presentation. This layer extracts data from the application layer and manipulates it per the required format to transmit over the network. Application. At the application layer, both the end-user and the application layer interact directly with the software application. This layer acts as a window for the application services to access the network and display the received information to the user. Q41. A gateway works in which layer of the OSI model? ANS. Transport layer. Q42. Explain why the standard OSI model is known as 802.XX. ANS. The OSI model was introduced in February 1980. In 802, XX80 is named for the year 1980, and 2 is named for the month of February. Q43. What common software problems lead to network defects? ANS. It can be any or a combination of application conflicts, client-server problems, configuration error, protocol mismatch, security issues, user policy and rights issues. Q44. Why is encryption on a network necessary? ANS. Encryption is changing data from its original readable to an unreadable format, thus ensuring network security. The user must use a secret key or password to decrypt the data. Encryption is useful for communications and in any case where you want to protect sensitive information. Thus, it is possible to encrypt the information in disks, folders or even individual files to prevent unauthorized access. Then, in addition to protecting users' privacy, data encryption prevents other types of attacks, such as identity theft or bank fraud, and provides a protection mechanism against the theft or loss of devices with sensitive information. Q45. What are the types of errors? ANS. There are two categories of errors: single-bit error, 1-bit error per data unit; burst error, 2 or more bits of errors per data unit. Q46. What is a client-server model? ANS. The client-server model or architecture is a communication framework for network processes. This framework is distributed among service requesters, clients, and service providers. It offers them transparent access to applications, data, computing services or any other resource of the workgroup and/or across the organization on multiple platforms. Client-server functions: user interface management, management of shared peripherals, capture and validation of input data, generation of queries and reports on databases, control of concurrent access to shared databases, create communications links with other local or wide area networks. Q47. What is Telnet? ANS. Telnet is a client service protocol on the Internet or local area network, allowing a user to log on to a remote device and have access to it. This is among the most commonly asked networking interview questions. Technically, it is a bidirectional interactive text-oriented communication facility, which uses a virtual terminal connection. Q48. What is RIP? ANS. In networking, RIP is an abbreviation for Routing Information Protocol. It is a simple protocol that exchanges information between the routers. Q49. What is half-duplex? ANS. It is the mode of communication between two devices. Here the data flows bidirectionally but simultaneously. A perfect example of a half-duplex is a walkie-talkie. Q50. What is a full duplex? ANS. It is a mode of communication between two devices and the data flow is bidirectional too, but the flow is simultaneous. One of the examples of full duplex is a telephone. Q51. What is Netstat? ANS. Netstat is a command line utility program that provides information about a connection's current transmission control protocol, Internet Protocol, TCP/IP, settings. Q52. What is a peer-peer process? ANS. The processes on each machine that communicate at a given layer are called the peer-peer process. Q53. What is anonymous FTP? ANS. With the help of an anonymous FTP, users can be granted access to files in public servers. Users can log in as anonymous guests, thus the name. Q54. What is NAT? ANS. Network Address Translation is a protocol that allows a network device, usually a firewall, to assign a public address to a computer inside a private network. Q55. Mention a few examples of private network addresses. ANS. Few examples of private network addresses are 10.0.0.0 with a subnet cover of 255.0.0.017.16.0.0 with subnet cover of 255.240.0.0192.168.0.0 with subnet cover of 255.255.0.0. Q56. Can you tell me the main elements of a protocol? ANS. There are three main elements of a protocol. Syntax. It refers to the structure or format of the data and their order of presentation. Semantics. It specifies the meaning of each section of bits. Timing. Timing refers to two characteristics, which include the timing of data sending and the speed of data sending. Such common networking interview questions are often asked by the interviewers. Q57. What is NIC? ANS. NIC is the abbreviation for Network Interface Card. It is a peripheral card with electronic circuitry. It is attached to a PC and connects to a network. NIC has its own MAC address and this identifies a PC on the network. Q58. What is the difference between communication and transmission? ANS. Transmission. A process of sending and receiving data between source and destination, in only one way. It is regarded as the physical movement of data. Communication. A process of sending and receiving data between source and destination, in both ways. Q59. Explain NAT in networking. ANS. Network Address Translation (NAT) is a protocol used to convert the IP address of the computer network into a local network to a single IP address. It takes all your local network devices and provides a single IP address to share a single connection to the Internet. NAT is used router, computer, firewall in a local network. Q60. Explain NOS. ANS. Short form for Network Operating System. Specialized software that provides connectivity to a computer such that it can communicate with other computers and devices on a network. Q61. What is IDEA? ANS. IDEA is the abbreviation for International Data Encryption Algorithm. It is the replacement for the Data Encryption Standard, DE. Q62. What is ASCII? ANS. American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Q63. What is Browder? ANS. Browder is a device that functions as both a bridge and a router. It forwards data within the networks and also routes data to individual systems in a network. Q64. Mention the maximum length of the Thinet cable? ANS. The maximum length of the Thinet cable is 185 meters. Q65. Name the cable which uses the RJ11 connector. ANS. Telephone cables use the RJ11 connector. Q66. How would you differentiate between firewall and antivirus? ANS. Both are security applications used in networking. A firewall prevents unauthorized access in private networks as intranets. However, it does not protect against viruses, spyware, or adware. An antivirus is a software that protects a computer from any malicious software, virus, spyware, or adware. You may consider such networking interview questions to be basic, but such questions are the favorite of interviewers as interviewees often leave behind such networking interview questions while preparing. Q67. How will you recover data from a virus-infected system? ANS. We will install an OS and updated antivirus in a system that is free of any viruses, and then connect the hard drive of the infected system as a secondary drive. The hard drive will then be scanned and cleaned. Data can now be copied into the system. Q68. What is ipconfig? ANS. IP-config is an acronym for Internet Protocol Configuration. We use IP-config on Microsoft Windows to view and configure the network interface. It displays all TCP/IP network summary information available on a network and helps to modify the DHCP protocol and DNS settings. Q69. What is IF-config? ANS. It is an acronym for interface configuration and is used on Linux, Mac, and Unix operating systems. IF-config configures and controls the TCP/IP network interface parameters from command line interface while allowing the user to check the IP addresses of these network interfaces. Q70. What is the semantic gap? ANS. Semantic gap is a difference between high-level programming sets in various computer languages and the simple computing instructions used by microprocessors. Q71. What is the difference between a domain and a workgroup? ANS. This is one of the important networking interview questions that you must prepare for your interview. The main difference between a domain and a workgroup is where do the computer networks belong to. If it is a home network, then computers will be a part of a workgroup, and if it's a workplace network, then the computers will be a part of a domain. Below are some of the major differences between a domain and a workgroup. Domain. The computers in a domain have a centralized database. Computers can be on a different local network. One or more computers are servers for providing access, security permission to all other computers in a network. A domain is used for transferring and sharing sensitive and important data. Domain has centralized authentication servers which set the rule of authentication. If a user has an account in a domain, then the user can log in to any computer in a domain. Changes made in one computer are automatically made to all other computers in a network. It is used by large public and business networks. Thousands of computers can be connected. Workgroup. The computers in the workgroup have their own local database. All computers must be on the same local area network. All computers are peers and no computer has control over another computer. It is used for sharing less secure data. Each computer has its own authentication rule for every user account. Each computer has a set of user accounts. If the user has an account on that computer, then only the user will be able to access the computer. Computer settings need to change manually for each computer. A workgroup is better suited for fewer computers. Only 20 computers connected. Q72. What is NVT? ANS. NVT stands for Network Virtual Terminal and is a representation of a primary terminal. This virtual terminal helps you to start a telnet session. Q73. What is BGP? ANS. BGP or Border Gateway Protocol is a protocol used to transfer data and information between different host gateways or autonomous systems. Q74. What is round-trip time? ANS. Round-trip time or RTT is the time taken to send a message from one end of a network to the other and back. Q75. What are 127.0.0.1 and localhost? ANS. Localhost is the standard hostname given to the machine, and it is represented by the IP address 127.0.0.1. Therefore, we can say that 127.0.0.1 and localhost are the same thing. Q76. Which are the most typical functional units of the client-server applications? ANS. The most typical functional units of the client-server applications are presentation logic or user interface, e.g., ATMs. Business logic, e.g., account balance inquiry. Data, e.g., bank account records. Q77. What are the triggers? ANDs. Triggers are event-driven specialized procedures and are managed by database management systems. It is capable of performing complex actions and uses procedural languages full throttle. Q78. What is a gateway? ANDs. A gateway is a hardware device that is connected to two or more networks. It may be a router, firewall, server, or any other similar device, and is capable of regulating traffic in the network. Q79. Is there a difference between a gateway and a router? ANDs. A gateway sends the data between two dissimilar networks, while a router sends the data between two similar networks. Q80. What is a virtual private network, VPN? What are the advantages of using a VPN connection? ANDs. A VPN or virtual private network is an encrypted connection, secure tunnel, built on the Internet from a device to a network. It helps in the creation of a protected network between different networks using the Internet, public network, ensuring that sensitive data is safely transmitted. This makes it difficult for third parties to gain unauthorized access, track your activities online, or steal data. By using the VPN, a client can connect to the organization's network remotely. Some of the advantages of using VPN connection are: remote access, protected file sharing, anonymity, enhanced security, improved performance, anonymity, network scalability, prevents data throttling. Q81. Explain the different types of VPN. ANDs. There are two types of VPNs. Remote Access Virtual Private Network. A remote access VPN securely connects a device, endpoints like laptops, tablets, or smartphones, outside the corporate office. It allows a client to associate with a private network and access every one of its resources and services remotely. The connection between the private network and the user happens securely through the Internet. It is a low-cost solution and is helpful for both business and home users. Site-to-site or router-to-router virtual private network. This VPN is mostly used in large organizations with branches in different locations to connect the network of one office to another in different locations. It has two subcategories: Intranet VPN. Intranet VPN allows several offices of the same company to connect using the site-to-site VPN type. It is commonly used for connecting remote offices in different geographical locations using shared infrastructure, Internet connectivity and servers, with the same accessibility policies as a private WAN, wide area network. Extranet VPN. Extranet VPN allows companies to use site-to-site VPN type to connect to the office of another company. It uses shared infrastructure over an intranet, suppliers, customers, partners, etc., and connects them using dedicated connections. Q82. What is EGP? What are its advantages? ANDs. EGP stands for Exterior Gateway Protocol. It is used to exchange net reachability information between Internet gateways within the same or different autonomous systems. EGP is the protocol of the routers. It is used to identify the set of networks that you will be able to reach within or via each independent system. Q83. Explain 10-base-T. ANDs. 10-base-T specifies data transfer rate, i.e., 10 megabits per second. Here the usage of the term base defines baseband, and not broadband. T denotes the type of cable, which is a twisted pair. Q84. Name the user support layers. ANDs. There are three types of user support layers: session layer, presentation layer and application layer. Q85. What is piggybacking? ANDs. It is the process of gaining access to a restricted communications channel by using an already established session by another user. This technique is known to improve the efficiency of the bidirectional protocols. Q86. What is an asynchronous transmission? ANS. It is a serial mode of transmission. It is the process of data transmission, where every character is a self-contained unit. Each character in asynchronous transmission has its start and stop bits, along with an uneven interval between them. Q87. What do you mean by a synchronous transmission? ANS. Synchronous transmission refers to continuous data streaming in the form of signals, accompanied by regular timing signals. These signals are generated by the external clocking mechanism and ensure that senders and receivers are in synchrony. Q88. What are the different types of transmission media? ANS. Transmission media has two broad types: guided media, wired; unguided media, wireless. Q89. What is process sigma? ANS. Process sigma measures the frequency of a task that is performed without any error. It is expressed as a number of standard deviations on a normal distribution. Q90. What is FMEA? ANS. Failure mode effect and analysis, or FMEA, is a qualitative and systematic tool to identify potential failure modes in a system, the reasons, and their effects. Q91. What is the backbone network? ANS. It refers to a centralized infrastructure for distributing different routes and data to various networks. Backbone networks connect LANs and WANs and also handles the management of bandwidth and multiple channels. Q92. What is OSPF? ANS. OSPF is an abbreviation for Open Shortest Path First. It is a routing protocol that uses a link state routing (LSR) algorithm to find out the best possible path for data exchange. Q93. What is the range of addresses in the classes of Internet addresses? ANS. Following are the 5 different ranges of addresses in the classes of the Internet. Class A: 0.0.0.0 to 127.255.255.255. Class B: 128.0.0.0 to 191.255.255.255. Class C: 192.0.0.0 to 223.255.255.255. Class D: 224.0.0.0 to 239.255.255.255. Class E: 240.0.0.0 to 247.255.255.255. Q94. What are datalink protocols? ANS. Datalink protocols are defined as the sets of requirements used to implement the data link layer. There are the following categories of data link protocols: synchronous protocols, asynchronous protocols, bit-oriented protocols, character-oriented protocols. Q95. What are the functions of a network layer? ANS. The network layer, or OSI Layer 3, provides services for exchanging individual sections of data over the network between identified end devices. To perform this end-to-end transport, Layer 3 uses 4 basic processes: addressing, encapsulation, routing, decapsulation. Q96. Name the access method used in the 1000 base TX network. ANS. CSMA CD access method as used in the 1000 base TX network. Q97. Mention the different types of links used to build a computer network. ANS. Following are the different types of links used to build a computer network. Cables. Wireless links. Last-mile links. Leased lines. Q98. Mention the types of wires used for data transmission in UTP cable. ANS. There are 4 types of wires used for data transmission in UTP cable, which is wire 1, 2, 3, and 6. Where wires 1 and 2 are used to transmit the data while wires 3 and 6 are used to receive the data. Q99. Can we use RG59 and RG6 cables in a computer network? ANS. RG59 and RG6 cables are not used in the computer network. These cables are made for the cable TV network. Q100. What is 10^2? ANS. 10^2 is defined as part of the IEEE 802.3. A standard specifies data transmission speeds of 10 megabits per second and a total segment length of 185 meters using RG58 coaxial cable. The 10^2 standard specifies a physical bus topology and uses BNC connectors with 50 ohm terminators at each end of the cable. One of the physical ends of each segment must be grounded.